Welcome back to Podcast at the Point. I'm your host, Cadet Private Anaya. Today we're bringing in a very knowledgeable, very smart young cadet, Cadet Private Andrzejewski.
Glad to be here.
So, our topic today for today's discussion, we're going to be seeing how Machiavellianism, if it's still applicable in the aspect of generosity and philanthropy to today's successful people. Now, we'll start out with basic introduction for many of our audience who doesn't know. Machiavellianism, in the sense that we're talking about it, we want to see basically says that if you're to be a ruler, you should not be generous and donate, because it will eventually lead to your downfall. Because either you're going to have to keep giving more and more to keep the people happy, either you're going to have to tax them more, or you're going to go bankrupt. But he did mention when you do acts of generosity, make sure it's public and see. So I'm going to pick your brain a bit here, see if you know any examples that we could agree that are truly philanthropists in the heart of hearts.
Could you say the popular YouTube personality Mr. Beast is one?
Jimmy Donaldson is a topic for hot debate. What do you think about that?
Well, to be honest with you, I've seen a lot of his videos, and I think that he embodies philanthropy. He's going out there doing things that are good for the people, helping out, but he's making it very public, known through his YouTube videos and his social media platform.
Well, yes, but would you argue that he's only doing it for the clicks, for the money that he gets off sponsors and ads?
I think you could definitely make an argument for that. He's making a lot of money off this, but he is giving a lot back to the people.
Yes. Perhaps. Some statistics that have come out from Forbes. In the past decade, the number of billionaires in the top 400 who have been rated as five-star philanthropists have dropped significantly, I believe, from 20 to 8 in the last decade. Now, what could this mean? Are we getting more cold as a society? Is it less advantageous for them? Are they making less money? What is it?
Well, I think in today's society, it's harder to connect with the people. For philanthropy-based idea, but I do think we are getting more cold as a society, so it's harder for philanthropists to go out and do that and want to do it. So, and I also think there's so much money to be involved in all this that the people who want to do it, that might be the driving factor.
Yeah, it's a great point to be made, and honestly, it'd be pretty hard to tell in today's society because everything, especially if you're rich and successful, is just public, and if you give away money, it's generally going to get out there.
Yeah, and it's not always to use this pessimistic attitude that all humans are bad, but it's also human nature to want to earn money for themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that's true. It's human nature. And what comes to mind for me is an example of Rush Limbaugh, popular conservative radio show host, died a few years back. Came out after he died that there was a radiothon donation thing for, I think it was St. Jude's Hospital for Children with Cancer. They were short of their goal by $100,000, and he said, "I'll pay the rest of it as long as you don't mention my name." So that's, I think, the true spirit that we like to see, and who I guess we're trying to find more common in, is purely for the sake of doing it, not for publicity. It only came out after he died that he did this.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that's the best way to do it, is to almost stay under the radar, not make yourself known, because that's not the point. The point is to give back and to do a good thing and not make yourself famous off of it, not make you the center of attention. I think it's important to if you're gonna have that lifestyle and be that type of person, I think you have to do it in a certain way that doesn't put the attention on you. It puts the attention on the cause and the purpose of it.
Yeah, there's certainly something to be said about that. But it leads me to another question. If you're giving money, you're donating your time, whatever, for a good cause, why should others care? I mean, you get benefits, yeah, but I mean, to an outsider, all that matters is some good deeds being done.
So you're saying that why should someone care that, say you yourself is donating, why should someone care about that?
Well, not care about that, care about my reasonings behind it, because I think as a society, we like to look up at the rich and powerful and find anything to pick them apart. Even something like they're donating, they have some kind of thing to the foundation or something.
Some cause.
Yeah. We like to look at that and immediately think the worst and say, oh,
They're only doing this for this reason, they're only doing it for that.
Like another thing, NFL, they have like their cleats, certain players make cleats for foundations and causes. A lot of people say, you know, they want to do this because they'll get a sponsorship from whoever makes the cleat, a Nike, Under Armour, something of the sort, which is money for them.
Yeah, well, I think if people see that, maybe it draws them to the cause as well. So say, like you said, a football player, they see the cleats, and football players aren't necessarily making any money off the cleats that they're wearing.
No.
Not at the time, yes. So maybe someone could care by seeing that cleat, maybe it sparks an interest in that certain cause.
Okay, then I'd like to go on a little segue here. That we talked about, mentioned earlier, it's human nature for a person wanting to make money, which I agree, it's foundations of capitalism, is what why capitalism is so successful. So this idea of philanthropy and making money off it, it's just human nature, to make money, and you're doing something good. Would you say that the idea of capitalism and making money off philanthropy has increased people's generosity?
Well, that's a great question, actually, and it's very deep, but I think being a philanthropist doesn't necessarily make you make money, but doing the act of philanthropy doesn't make you money specifically, but people seeing that boosts your popularity almost and increases your popularity and the view on you. So in turn, you can make money off of that. So your question, if I'm not wrong, is what was your question again?
Basically saying, do you think capitalism, at least in those who can make money off it, has fueled philanthropy?
Yeah, I would say yes, because in this country, capitalism it almost enables philanthropy to like a great extent. You can do whatever you want with your money, really.
Yes.
So I think that yes, it does.
Okay. What do you think about what some other things Machiavelli said? Basic morals of a person, more or less, are subject, like he talks about being your word. If you're a prince and you sign some sort of treaty with someone, that's only as valid as long as it benefits your country, which you could say is a selfless thing that's for the interest of your country. But in that same regard, today, do you think the rich and powerful's word means nothing? Is it only as much as it helps their public image?
I really think it depends on the person. There's definitely some people that are rich and famous, and they really only care about their image to the people. And I do think there's people who are rich and famous who don't really care about their image to the public, but more necessarily care about their own morals and their own principles, and that's how they want to live. So I think there's two ways to think about it. There's two types of people, so that's what I think.
Yeah. So I think what we could generally say to wrap things up, it's not right for us to lump everyone into
course.
rich and powerful.
Of
There's
course.
different people. Like that Forbes report I mentioned earlier, it leaves out Warren Buffett. He increased by 20%, I believe. That's if I'm remembering correctly. But he increased by a substantial amount in his donations. So it's not right to lump everyone together. And we really don't have the insight or really the reason to wonder why people are donating.
Of course, yeah.
We should be happy they're donating.
It is something to think about, though.
Yes, of course, because we've seen it time and time again throughout history. Julius Caesar giving money with his face printed on the coin is purely a political move.
Of course.
So it's good to keep your eyes peeled on for things of that, especially when it comes to political leaders such as Julius Caesar,
Of course.
rather than privately owned people. So I think leads me to just one more thing before we conclude this. What about not necessarily philanthropy, but giving to the lower classes from people who hold political offices, such as a congressman giving kickbacks to his constituents? Is that buying their vote, or is there purely cares about his constituents, or is it like Machiavelli said, you're doing this act of good, philanthropy we'll call it, in order for some sort of positive gain for you?
See, I think that's purely based on motives of the individual. So I think there's definitely political moves to be made, and people will do that. But I also think some people have that feeling within themselves to do it, and
Yes.
they base it off of that. So once again, I think there's two aspects to it, and it's just how you look at it, and really depends on the person.
Okay. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Have a nice day.